Hey YouTube, we're back with more cheese making. If you're new here, we're going to be making jack cheese today. I've made 92 numbered cheeses. I keep notes in my handy dandy cow notebook, so that makes sense, doesn't it? Anyway, let's jump in. We get milk from a local farmer. This is 2 gallons of very whole, very fresh, with all the cream. And be careful with glass jars, because if you drop one, you will have broken glass and milk all over the kitchen, and you'll be crying and wondering about your life decisions while you try to clean it up. You don't need a ton of tools for the kitchen part of making cheese, just a big pot. I'm using a probe thermometer. We're going to get this up to 86 degrees. And the only other thing I'm going to be using in the kitchen is a whisk. And later on, I just use a cake spatula for cutting the cheese. There's special tools for all of that, but I just use what I have. I set the thermometer to alarm at about 84 degrees, so I have time to come out here and get my next ingredients together. Set that over sort of a low heat. On my stove, it's a number 2, and I'll just go do something else until this goes off, and then we'll come back and move on to the next step. All right, that has just hit 86 degrees, and I buy my cultures on Amazon, or you can get them on like CHEESEMAKING.com. We're gonna do a half a teaspoon of the culture, and I just sprinkle it over the top of the milk. And then I let that sit on there for 5 minutes. After that has sat for about 5 minutes, we're just going to take a whisk and carefully, I don't whisk it around, like don't whisk it really hard, just kind of gently, I guess. Whisk it in an up and down motion, but make sure you get the whole, get through the whole pot, because we're wanting to incorporate that starter into the milk as much as possible without, whipping it. Usually for about 30 to 60 seconds, depending on your recipe. And again, every cheese recipe is going to be different. Just follow the instructions. And then once that is carefully whisked in a little bit, we'll just cover it and set a timer for an hour and keep it at 86 degrees for an hour. And I just add a half a teaspoon of the rennet to a quarter of a cup of water. And I just do that and set that aside and let that wait until it's time to add. After an hour, we're going to come back, and this is when we add the rennet. And again, every recipe is different, so make sure you check your recipe. Don't follow this is just how to do it. It's not the exact recipe. They're all going to be different. And I just add the rennet to that milk that's been sitting for an hour, and we're going to whisk this in for 1 minute. And I'm just going to cover that for 30 to 45 more minutes. You can see a lot of cheeses are kind of a really nice rainy day project if you're home, because you're inside, but you don't have to be hands-on the whole time. You're not in the kitchen watching this every minute of the processing time. Now, there's an hour, half hour here, 45 minutes there where you can go do something else. The stove's not on, it's just sitting here resting. So cheese making may seem time consuming, and it is, yes, but it's also, there's lots of breaks where you don't have to be here hands-on the whole time. So this has been 35 minutes, and I'm going to show you how to check and see if your cheese is ready to cut. So this is where your cake spatula comes in, and all you do to check and make sure your cheese is ready to cut, I'm going to do this at an angle, but you go down straight in like that, and then go like a little T and pull up. And see how nice and sharp that angle is when you pull that up. Those edges are nice and clean. That means that is ready to cut. This has been 35 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this. And for this recipe, it says we need to cut it into 3/4 inch cubes. And I don't measure it per se. I mean, you kind of eyeball it a little bit. And since it needs cubes, you're going to want to go in both directions this way, from one side to the other, all the way down. And I think there's a cheese cutting tool you can buy, but I just do this, and it's never given me any problem. And then once you've gone across it one direction, you turn it and go across this direction. But if you think about it and you need cubes, you still need to go in underneath all of these. So I'll show you what I do. I'll go in under at an angle. And again, I'm just, it's not an exact science, but I'm just going under those all the way across at an angle to make basically a cube. And I'll do that both directions across this whole thing. And now we're going to let that sit for 5 minutes, and we're still maintaining 86 degrees. And then after that 5 minutes is up, we're going to come back and bring this up slowly to a little bit higher temp while we stir it. And that's going to be just to get a lot more of the whey released out of these beautiful curds. Okay, these have been stirred up to 102 degrees for a long time. You can see how much smaller the curds are, and they've shrunk down nicely and released a bunch of that whey. So now we're going to stop stirring and let these sit for 30 minutes. Okay, this has sat for 30 minutes and these are settled down, so you can't see the curds right now, but I'm going to go ahead and just ladle some out of the whey that has separated. And I just use a measuring cup and just pull it off and just pour it down the sink. I don't know if there's another use for this. There probably is, but I don't save it. And what we're wanting to do is pull off enough of this whey to expose the top of the curds that have settled down to the bottom. And then I'm going to stand here and stir them for another 15 minutes. So this is the part where it does get kind of time consuming, because you have to come back and stir. I mean, stirring for 40 minutes, and then come back and stir for another 15. Like, yeah, you know, kind of boring. But, you know, if you have YouTube, you can put on your favorite channel and just watch something while you're standing here mindlessly stirring your cheese curds. And also, a word to the wise, if you love cheese the way I do, maybe not a good idea to have a spoon anywhere near while you're stirring the curds, because they're so yummy. And if you start nibbling on them, you'll end up with nothing to put in the press. We've just exposed the top of the curds. And I'm gonna just kick those around with a spatula for 15 minutes and just get them to release a little bit more whey, and then I'm going to put them in a colander and get them strained out. Okay, so I've just moved it over to the sink here and gotten a piece of butter muslin damp, and we're going to line a big colander. I love my big colander that straddles the sink, super handy. And I just take one of these to scoop the cheese out of the pot and the whey and line it into this damp butter muslin to drain. All right, after 5 minutes just draining a bit, I just toss about half of the salt on top, and I put on gloves for this part because I don't want to have any bacteria from your hands being inside the curd, because it's going to go into the interior of this cheese once it's done. You really, really want it to stay clean, because mold developing is definitely an issue when you're aging cheeses the way you do in a cooler after you're done producing. Add the rest of the salt like that. And then you can just take both hands and kind of toss it and just kind of try and make sure it's really well distributed. And this one's a little different than most because I'm not going to be putting it in a cheese mold. So if you don't have cheese molds, this is a cheese you can try, because all you need is this cheesecloth, which is kind of an interesting concept. So what it says to do is tie it. Basically, or you're just making a cheese bag and you're going to press it right inside this bag. So we want to make it really nice and tight and somewhat shaped, because this is going to be the final shape of your cheese, is what's coming out of this bag. And I will tie it up really tight right inside that bag. And this is what we're going to press. So you do still need a press, and you're going to have a little funky knot mark. So this one's more artisan, kind of a strange, you'll have that on one side as a look, but you're going to have, you know, a little bit of a funny bottom. So this is one that you wouldn't be able to wax. And I just give it a twist. Twist it really well to hear that extra moisture getting out of there. And you can even put it over here onto a cutting board and just kind of press it into, you know, the shape that you're going to want. But again, see how that knot is pressing down in? So try and make your knot kind of as flat as possible while still being tight. Because the first time I did this, I ended up with a big, you know, a fairly big divot in the middle of my bottom of my cheese, which was, you know, it still tastes good, but it's not as attractive. And then we're going to put that in a press with an 8-pound weight. Let's head over to the press. And this is my very cheap little Amazon press, which I am not impressed with the press, but it does, you know, it does an okay job. So for me, my weight for 8 pounds is going to be this vinegar bottle full of water. And just make sure that it's sitting level, because you don't want it to settle unevenly and smash that down crooked. So we just tighten these down and keep an eye on it for the first 20 minutes or so. You definitely want to kind of keep an eye on these, and because it's draining pretty quick, and make sure it's not settling anything less than level. So we're going to leave that on there for 6 hours, and then we'll take it out and air dry it. After 6 hours has gone by, get a tray ready with a rack and this little mat, little cheese mat. I use gloves for this, but we're going to just remove the cheese from the press, and you need to set this all aside and get it cleaned up. And then we're going to remove the fabric little sack from around this cheese, take it out, unwrap it, and then we're going to pat it dry and rub the surface with a tablespoon of cheese salt or kosher salt. And then you're going to put that salted cheese on the little mat, place that on the dry, the little the drying rack on top of the tray, and I set it in the oven just to keep it protected, and we're going to let it sit for 24 hours or until it's dry to the touch, flipping it over once during that time. And it goes without saying here the oven is not on, and what I do is, to make sure I don't mistake and forget and turn the oven on, which I have done before and cooked my cheeses, stick a spoon right here and just kind of crack the door open so that hopefully you will remember not to turn the oven on while there's cheese in there air drying. Okay, this has been overnight air drying, and we flipped it over once, and you can see the little divot from the knot, and there's a nice air dried jack. The next thing that I do with it is I just use a Tupperware. This is just a basic, kind of a flat rectangular Tupperware, and I put it in its own little container. There's a little piece of damp sponge in the back, and then I always use one of these that tells you the humidity and the temp. We want the humidity to come up to 80 to 85% for about 2 weeks, and then I'm going to pull this out and we'll cut it open and see what we got. So I'll close this lid up fairly tight until the humidity gets up where I want it to be, and then I'll start to crack it and just make sure that we can maintain that in that the humidity range that we want. But I always put a little label on it, just kind of what's in there and a little bit of the instructions. So let's take this up to the cooler. So we'll leave this in here for 2 weeks, and I actually come up here every day and turn that cheese over so it has an even moisture content as it sits and ages. So after 2 weeks, this has been in the cooler, and I didn't get a chance to film, but you watch for mold development, and this did develop mold. I like to wax cheeses. I really hate dealing with mold. But what you do for that is come and every so often just wipe the cheese on both sides with a mixture of salt and vinegar, and it kills the mold and helps it stay cleaner. But I still see little spots, and so I'll show you what I've done on the back side of this. I take a paring knife and just clear off, and you can see that divot where that knot was from the fabric. So I just take a paring knife and clear, take it out of that rind. So before I wrap this in shrink wrap and get it in the refrigerator, I'd probably take a paring knife. And this is very shallow, but I'm going to go around and just kind of shave that off so we have a nice cheese to deal with. All right, and I have just cleaned that up a little bit, and it just took a little bit of just a paring knife and just sort of just shave a little bit of that rind off that had some spots and dark spots from that little bit of mold that was trying to develop over the 2 weeks. So I'm happy with that, and I'm going to cut this open and see what it looks like. But it feels like, and the moisture content and the texture density of this feels really nice. So I'm going to cut it open and try a piece, and then we're going to get this in vacuum seal bags and get it in the refrigerator. And I always wear gloves when I'm handling these right out of the cooler, but obviously if you were serving these to your family, you don't need to wear the gloves. Let's just cut a little piece and see what we have. Beautiful. That looks so perfect. And I'm going to give that an A- just because of the mold that I had a little bit of development there. But other than that, this is a perfect texture, perfect moisture, and a really nice Jack cheese. Hope this inspires you to try Jack yourself at home sometime. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.